All right, today we're heading way up north, where fighter jets and warships are sending a really powerful political message. But what's fascinating is this isn't a conflict with some rival power. Nope, it's actually a super tense standoff between longtime allies, and it all centers on one massive icy island, Greenland.
So, what is going on here? Seriously, why are a bunch of friendly, allied nations suddenly moving major military hardware to one of the most remote places on the entire planet? That's the big question we're going to unpack today, and believe me, the answer reveals this surprising and honestly pretty fascinating clash of wills.
Okay, first up, let's just look at the hardware on the move. To really get the message that's being sent here, you've got to see who's involved and, what they brought to the party. This isn't just some political statement. This is an active military deployment, and it's happening right now.
Now, Denmark is making it crystal clear that they are not acting alone. Just look at this list. They've pulled together a really significant coalition here. You've got Sweden, a major regional power, right alongside huge NATO allies like Germany, France, the Netherlands, and of course Canada. This is no random assortment of countries. This is a very deliberate show of widespread, solid support.
And just check out the scale of this thing. We're talking about a full combined arms operation. You've got fighter jets screaming across the sky, warships patrolling those icy waters, and even ground troops out there running exercises. This sends one heck of a signal. These allies have a serious, credible ability to operate and defend their interests in the super harsh conditions of the Arctic.
So, the official word from Denmark's defense minister is that this is all about security and stability in the region. But, that kind of begs the question, right? Security from what threat? Or from who? To understand the real reason for all this military activity, we've got to look at the immense pressure that was just put on them from across the Atlantic.
And that right there brings us to the real heart of the story. Immense and very, very public pressure from the United States. You see, this military exercise didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was a direct, and I mean very calculated reaction to a diplomatic firestorm that was ignited in Washington. I mean, look at how fast this all went down. It was a whirlwind. On Tuesday, Greenland's prime minister is simply reaffirming her country's ties to Denmark. Then, boom, Wednesday morning, the US president is on social media publicly demanding control. And just a few hours later, top American officials are in these emergency meetings. It was an incredibly tense 48 hours.
And this was a social media post that basically lit the fuse. A direct statement from former President Trump just laying all the cards on the table. This wasn't some quiet, diplomatic back-channel thing. It was a blunt, public declaration that the U.S. sees Greenland as absolutely essential to its national security. But for what, exactly?
Well, the post specifically mentioned something called the Golden Dome. Now, this is a proposed U.S. missile defense system, and because of where Greenland is, its strategic location is just perfect for monitoring airspace over the North Pole. It's a vital piece of real estate for a project like this. It's seen as a really key part of America's defensive strategy.
So you have the United States making its intentions crystal clear, putting this huge demand on the table. How on earth did Denmark and Greenland respond to that? This is an unprecedented demand from their most powerful ally.
Well, their answer was fast, it was united, and it was a crystal clear no. And not just no, but a heck no. Their position was that sovereignty is simply not up for discussion. They reminded the world that, yeah, Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, but it is a self-governing territory, and its future will be decided by its own people and nobody else.
And this quote from Greenland's prime minister, man, it just says it all. It really captures the emotional core of their position. It's this powerful statement of identity and partnership with Denmark, especially in the face of all this pressure from a superpower. It's a statement of principle over politics, for sure.
So here you can see the problem, right? There's absolutely no middle ground here. On one side, you have this firm, principled defense of sovereignty and the right to self-determination, and on the other, a complete dismissal of that position. It's a total diplomatic stalemate, and it's that impasse that led directly to the military maneuvers we're seeing right now.
Okay, so how do we get from a political standoff to a bunch of warships in the Arctic? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. This wasn't some routine drill, and it certainly wasn't a declaration of war. But it was absolutely a declaration of intent. And this is really the whole point. This military buildup, it's a message. When words fail or just get ignored, nations use actions to send a message. And this entire operation is a carefully staged piece of political theater. And the intended audience is sitting in Washington, D.C.
So what is the actual message they're sending? Well, there are three parts. First, it's a powerful, non-verbal way to say, this is our sovereign territory. Second, by bringing in all these allies, it shows the US that Denmark is not standing alone on this. And third, and this might be the biggest one, it's a clear signal that these nations can and will protect their own interests in the Arctic, with or without American approval.
And all of this really leaves us with one massive question for the future. As the ice up there continues to melt and the strategic stakes get higher and higher, are we watching the opening moves in a new great game for control of the Arctic? Well, this standoff over Greenland suggests that the chessboard is already set.